Hello everyone, this is Alexander from the CodeMaestro team. Tell me who loves tutorials. Personally, I can't stand them. I hate going through them, and even more, I hate making them. But I get paid too well to refuse. Today, I'll show you how I got rid of this routine once and for all using our AI coding assistant, which completely changes the development workflow. Hello. Usually, creating a tutorial takes 1 or 2 calls with a game designer, and it's quite possible that they'll only be available tomorrow. But AI removes these bottlenecks. With CodeMaestro, I handle this in 15 minutes using simple prompts. Let's take a look. I asked my digital assistant to analyze the gameplay and tell me everything the player needs to know to play and win the game. It gave me a complete list of game features, categorized, basic controls and movement, combat mechanics, advanced combat techniques, defense and counterattacks, online play, training mode, game modes and systems, various control schemes, winning strategies, and all of this instantly without manual research. There's not much more to add. The next request is even more interesting. It looks quite big, but most of it is hidden in this sentence. I asked CodeMaestro to analyze the code and list potential issues that I might encounter during implementation. This is a game changer. Instead of spending hours debugging, I see all possible pitfalls up front. But if you skip it or do it poorly, things will get even worse later. Let's see what it came up with. Here's the request in the chat. Doesn't seem like a lot of issues. Usually there are more. Let's ask it to repeat the analysis. And now things get interesting. Here's a full list of 20 issues based on the game's code and architecture that I might face during implementation. Traditional debugging wouldn't catch some of these this early. Great list, but its format doesn't match the required one. That's easy to fix, just repeat the format. And I get exactly what I want. A complete list of problems I might encounter. This raised an additional question. Is there, by any chance, slow motion in the game? It's usually present in fighting games. And that could also be an additional issue for the tutorial implementation. But CodeMaestro confidently responds that there's no slow motion. Unfortunately, my project lacks UI and UX design. Usually there is one, but not this time. So I also asked CodeMaestro to help me design the visual appearance of the hints, and it came up with 5 excellent options: glowing letters, ghostly shadows, a quiet whisper, dynamic lighting effects, and it even pointed out something I missed. The storybook in the main menu should be animated. Perfect. Of course, no AI assistant can replace human creativity, so I refined the list of problems and solutions myself. You might notice that I use terms from Standard 21.19. This leads to much better results when making requests. Now, let's move on to the most crucial part: how this fundamentally changes development. I broke the task down into several subtasks, each of which can be completed and tested separately and sequentially without waiting for the next ones. And I formulated the request for CodeMaestro directly in the plugin in my IDE. To create the request, I used first the task description, which I had in a document. Here it is in the request. Second, I used the previously developed requirements, the full list I just showed. I added the hint design so that CodeMaestro understood what it was working with, and the description of the very first subtask. This was the resulting request. Let's see how CodeMaestro handled it. It even created a couple of triggers as examples for different event types, even though that was supposed to come in later tasks. But maybe it's needed for testing. And it was in the requirements, so it's acceptable. It also provided a brief integration guide for the existing systems, and an example of how this system works. Normally, setting this up manually would take hours, but here it's done in minutes. I'll show the solutions for the remaining tasks in future videos. In the meantime, tell me, what assistants do you use? And how much faster does your coding process become with AI? See you.